Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been on this journey with us since day one. Thank you, Folgers. It would not be the same without you. Also, big thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for his contribution of time and music, and of course his voice for our intro and outro. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found anywhere: Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, name it, he's there. So go and check him out. Tonight we welcome Wes Roberts to the show. He's going to be discussing his book, An Experiencer's Garden, and which basically covers his experiences with alien abduction and contact. But in order to participate in tonight's show, you're going to have to hit up one of our 8 platforms, which are, in case you don't know, News on the Flip Side, Canada's Most Haunted, moi, Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover, and The Outer Realm on Facebook, UFO Paranormal on Facebook, and of course on YouTube. Don't forget us on UFO Paranormal Radio, International Public Radio, myself. And while you're there, newsflash is UFO Paranormal now has a memberships page. Yes, you definitely want to be a member. Don't just subscribe, get a membership. There's 3 different levels, and you're going to get access to a whole lot of content that isn't going to be on the standard pages. Older archives, a lot of extra content that all of the hosts are putting together for you all. The Gray Zone Uncensored with Joe and I, which is now at least 54 episodes in, is only going to be found on monetization. There are no archives of it anywhere. So just a little something to bear in mind. Hello, Bubbles.
Hi.
Okay, then. All right.
That was like my hand in the cookie jar, but I was just looking at my notes. How are you? It's good to be back.
It's
good to be back. Shout out to Kojiko, Ontario for now. Going to see how it goes the next few days. Just saying. But thank you.
Best behave, you guys.
Best behave, because it's always good in the beginning, just like a new boyfriend. So, or a new friendship. We're always so sweet in the beginning. Oh, nice.
Here
Michelle
we go, Michelle.
having
some Folgers
right now. Very good. Hi, Sherry Berry.
Thank you for that. Sherry, Tamara, Wayne, Amanda.
I'm having the lavender milk because the stomach with the nerves of late have been really, really weird. And I'm not a milk person.
Hey, Bradley. Thank you.
I don't
think
I don't think it's real milk. I think it's like one of those nut juice things. No, because I don't know what it is. But anyways, there's lavender in it, so I'm happy. But hello, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day to you,
Buon
too, kind
San
sir.
Valentino. Although there was a massacre that day.
Looking wonderful. Thank you.
It was a massacre that day. We're not going to ignore that completely, are we? Hello, Wayne. I'm reading the book, page 51. Right now. Love it. Love it. Love it. Finally reading Whitechapel Road. And of course, it's amazing as expected. And he never ceases to amaze me with the descriptive text and how much I've already learned only 50 pages in.
There you go. And he's hey, Wes.
Hi, Wes. Are you home safe?
Yeah. He's always good for filling in the blanks and such. Over text, he'll answer your questions and stuff, which is good. He told me the whole book for book 4. I didn't have to read it.
I know. He's like, ask Michelle if she's read the book. Michelle's like, well, you told me the whole thing. I was here when you wrote it.
I know.
It's I was just laughing. I'm loving it, Wayne. I'm loving it. It's really helping me escape all of this that's going on in the world. And I'm not going to talk about it because it's enough. I just want to be clear. I am a centralist in the sense of politics, in the sense of anything. I don't for or against anything. I don't believe in making decisions for other people, their bodies, their politics, whatever their views are. It's not who I am.
Right.
So when you come at other people who are my friends on Facebook, you're going to get blocked. Hope you're enjoying that right now, Richard. But anyways, I don't want to see any arguing. I don't post anything that even draws out those kind of comments. So if
I
you
just
have
don't. I just
your
don't go there,
no,
frankly.
but the thing is, I don't even have
Right.
those. I have a draft post, and he's posting all about the conspiracy theory, and I'm like, oh my god, stop!
I'm always like,
It's a
I'm for the
giraffe.
aliens. Let's
It's
just
a
go.
giraffe in the snow.
Yeah,
I'm
forget
for
it.
the aliens too. I'm pro
Sure.
alien.
So
It's
can
a
we go? Yeah.
freaking giraffe in the snow. Leave everybody
I
alone.
know.
That's all
I
I'm
know.
saying. Some people go to social media to forget about all the crap that's going on in the world right now. Just saying,
Not this guy.
okay?
Hey, Michael. Not
So,
this. Not this
like,
person. No, no, no. I'm always immersed in my research, which takes you
no, I
everything
know,
out
but
of this world. So I'm out of this world.
yes, but
So
you're rarely on Facebook. Like when I'm
no.
posting a funny post on
Right.
social media, I want my friends that are on my timeline to laugh.
Right.
That's me. If you know
Right.
me and I'm in your group, you know that I'm the clown ass of the group. I
Right.
want that lightness. I don't like the
Right.
seriousness 24/7. And when I'm on social media, I don't want it. So if you are
Yeah.
about protesting or not protesting or against the anti-maskers or not against it, I don't care. Just don't put it on my timeline.
That's just
Just don't
it.
put it on my timeline. That's all I'm saying. Otherwise, then you have to leave and I don't get to know you, and that would be sad. And I don't appreciate those kind of comments. And I don't want anyone on Facebook feel like they might be attacked on my timeline. That's all I'm trying to say. So
Right.
please keep it centered.
Right.
That's
And
it.
with that being said, I know our guest has just come in. So do you
Yay.
get the bio going? Get the
Yes,
party started? Let's just do this. Okay, good.
I've actually got his bio
All right.
ready.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy because here we are in Toronto, Canada
Again.
again.
Yes, it's awesome.
Wes Roberts is a 30-year plus contract college professor who teaches students computer applications, transcription, office procedures, and business communication. He has had hints of alien visitations dating back to his teens through ofttimes, frustrating nighttime experiences, and due to a consciously recalled experience in the 1980s, Wes became convinced his experience could not be explained any way by conventional notions such as imagination, visions, hallucinations, dreams, and so on. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Wes Roberts. Hello,
Hello.
welcome.
Good evening.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just going to tell you I love your house right now because I see the piano in the background.
As if.
Yeah. Well, mine fools everybody too. I'm just saying.
It shows itself.
Yeah,
That's it.
I see it as a
Exactly.
piece of art. That's my daughter stopped playing years ago, but I see it as a piece of art. I can't get rid of it.
I love
It's hard.
pianos. Ours
Yeah.
is an 1854 Steinway square grand.
Well, it's a heck of a lot better than the curtains I actually have behind me.
Oh,
I don't see them. You look marvelous all
That's
over and
okay.
so
No.
bright. Are we in the same city?
Yes.
I am definitely in Toronto. There
But
is snow.
it's so bright there.
I know. Hey, Zach. So how are you? Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I've been looking forward to this with our chit chat.
Well, thank you both for having me here. I'm good. I'd have to say nervous, even though I'm talking about my boring old self.
Oh my gosh, there's nothing to be nervous about. It's just us two.
Well,
and a couple million of your closest friends.
new
no
closest
pressure.
friends.
Yes, we're new.
It's all good.
Yeah, but otherwise, I'm good. I was reminded a couple of days ago, and I can get into this whenever you're ready for it.
Yeah,
I was talking to a friend of mine in Australia, a very close friend of mine, and she had just read through my first book.
Right.
And she said, and she's talking about this must have taken courage and things like that. And I don't see the courage piece in it, quite honestly.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
no, I don't. And at the very end of the first book, I said, this is for those of you out there who fear. This is for you.
Right.
And when I started the second book, it was like, this is for you who have not taken the first step yet. So the kind of bookends.
Oh, I'm really
wow.
excited now. So
I think it takes a lot of courage to do just that.
Well,
write it, tell your story, especially where you're coming from, the field that you're in. It takes a lot of courage.
So I guess the best place to start is, um, well, where do you want to start? I mean, with your experiences, when did they start? Take us to the humble beginnings, I guess, of your experiences and so on. Wherever you want to start. The show's about you, after all.
Well, I was able to retrofit, let me call it, some of my early experiences. And I was talking to someone else recently, and they had almost an identical experience. So this helps me feel authentic. It helps me validate what I go through. So one of my early experiences when was in my teens, I had a lot of strange experiences in my teens,
Right.
and explosive energy, right?
Right.
And this particular one, I was awake. I was sitting up in bed. I had not been sleeping. And three things, creatures, I don't know what they were, in robes, black robes, entered into my room. No sound. Just with their hands kind of outstretched, like, follow us. And it's like, no.
How about no? I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that. I was kind of terrified, and I thought, what is this all about? And so until when I started examining my experiences a lot more closely and got over this 20-year hesitation to pursue them, and it really was 20 years, I thought that was just apparitions. It was just something else. I cannot explain it, but it fits actually. And other people have had similar experiences where beings in hooded robes will come in to their home. Generally not speaking. Yeah, hooded robes. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Beings, hooded beings, like black.
I couldn't see their faces. Amelia, am I saying your name right?
Yes.
I couldn't see their faces. Just three beings of different heights in black, just beckoning me to come with them. And I'm sure I did at some other time, but not then.
Oh,
right.
That's scary.
It's like, but thank you for asking. That's I'm good. I think I'll just sit this one out.
I'm good. I got coffee waiting, folders.
Yeah, my family knows where I am in case you get any bright ideas. So it started in your teens. Do you think it could have happened earlier? Like it happened? Like the traditional contactee abductee formula is that it's happened to your family members or your grandparents, or like it just moves up the line, right? Do you find that with you as well?
I do, Michelle. I fit into that typical pattern. I didn't know that.
Right.
I didn't know that. I had a 1980s experience, and fast forward 20 years beyond that, I decided to look into it with a hypnotherapist.
Right. Who we know and love.
Yes. Okay. Am I allowed to mention her name?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yes,
She's been on the show a couple of times. Please. Yeah. Please
Leslie
do.
Mitchell Clark.
Yes, we love her.
She was on a couple of weeks ago. She's a doll.
Yeah, my pal Leslie. So until I decided to see hypnotherapists, I was unaware of anything being of this nature before 1980s.
Wow.
And then I went to her with one experience in mind, just one that I just couldn't shake. And so I went to her and I thought, well, let's explore this. So she did her typical good assessment. You know, you've got to do the triage piece.
Right.
If you don't do that, you don't know the kind of person you're dealing with. So she did her usual good thing, and we did the first session. It was nothing about the 80s experience. It was something completely different.
Wow.
Something completely different from early childhood. I'm going to say 3 or 4 years old.
Wow.
That far back.
That far back. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, great. This is, wow. Because I had not conceived of something before the 1980s in my particular case.
Right.
And so to fit the pattern, actually, I'm not sure if the two of you and your listeners are aware, maybe Leslie talked about it, the interlife hypnosis.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, she did.
I finally got to doing that with her and finally got to discovering why all this is happening to me. One of the big why me answers came rushing through, and it's because I agreed to it.
See, I know it's a thing, and all sorts of areas of the unknown will speak about that. Whether it starts with soul circles, we all agreed to come back together and live out this life or play these roles. And I know she also mentioned, which I believe, that you can, be incarnated into any being from any planet, it's just not all necessarily here on planet Earth. So when she said you agreed to this, how did you feel about that?
Well, if I can back up a step,
Of course. Yeah.
I was concerned when I went to get hypnosis. It's not happened to me before then, and there's not. I would say there's nothing to it except you're going to have more detail about your experiences. You're quite conscious, almost lucid, perhaps super lucid at times. But I was afraid that that experience and others I consciously recalled were not real. That was my concern.
Oh, okay.
I know it's a bit of a strange take on it, right?
Well, they're not real. But so again, is this going back to another life? Perhaps is this where does it just come from? Like it just materializes, or is it an implanted memory?
So, fortunately, just to follow that thought up, they are real. The experiences are real. My concern was that they would not be, and that I was living through illusion most of my life. So I was relieved to find out that was not true. I was not living through illusion. I was somewhere between amused and weirded out by the interlife section, because at a certain point you meet with a group of beings, and they're sending you off. Kind of like Bon Voyage. If you buy into this theory, they're sending you off.
Right.
Everything but the champagne bottle on the side of the ship.
That could hurt.
I need the champagne. That's why I haven't gone.
I need it too.
I'm just saying, maybe I haven't gone for that reason. Yeah. If I don't see that orange label, I'm not going anywhere. Just saying.
I hear you on that. So the experience, before the experience ended, I was in a council chamber, which I was to find myself in council chambers many times in these experiences. The common theme, at least for me, and I think it is for some others too. So I was in a council chamber with human-looking beings and with alien beings.
Right.
And it was like they were sort of giving me the nod, go forward, or engage, as Picard might say.
Oh, right. Getting into some Gene Roddenberry there.
Well,
I like it.
I sort of saw families going by, not clearly. And it was like, not that one, this one. And that was it. And thinking back, it's like, my gosh, I had a not father, which everybody knows, just a donator. To be not crude. Anyway, so I had a not father. He was never around, but I must have picked this particular family for a reason. All the dynamics at work, the big one being I grew up in an all-female household.
Nurturing.
Yes, very nurturing. Mother, grandmother, sisters.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, and so that's sort of, that went through my life in the interlife journey. And I thought, okay, finally, I get it. I am not victimized. And I think that's a big deal for anyone listening to your show or watching your show. I am not sure how many of those folks are actually victimized or had something to do with their fates. I don't want to be outrageous, and I don't want people to feel, oh my God, he's a horrible man. But I'm thinking I reached that point of awareness.
Right.
And I'd highly, highly recommend anyone who's sitting on a fence saying, should I explore this, to explore it, please.
Right.
You might find out something very special about yourself.
Oh, there's no doubt. I think, if anything, you can tap into consciousness.
Absolutely.
Right. So, okay, that's interesting. So I'm curious about the whole interlife thing. She went into that in great detail when she was on the show a couple of weeks ago. She's coming back in June, so I think we're gonna expand a little bit on that. So you become aware of the fact that, okay, you're at this stage now. Where do you go from here? You have further experiences. Are you more aware of your experiences now? Because let's say you're on the journey, you've opened the door.
That's a great question. The first simple answer is they do not end. That's the first answer I would have. I'm not sure how others view this. I've spoken to quite a few, and I think it's true with them too. Without mentioning any of the names, but some people I personally know too. So they don't end. They're not the same nature that they used to be. I'm not sure if Leslie or anyone else has spoken about this, but they begin as abductions, physical abductions, guided journeys, if you will. And then they mature to the point where you can call yourself, I think, an experiencer, where they want your buy-in. They want you to have something to do with it. They might not give you a lot of choices. They're stage setters. They set stages.
Okay. What do you mean by stage setters?
Most of my experiences have been scripted. Not what I do, but where I do it.
Okay.
The conditions under which I do it. This is my impression. So I call them stages, like a Hollywood stage.
Okay.
Yeah, so they set a stage or a phase, and some of my experiences have 4 or 5 or 6 stages in them. And each one's kind of discrete, but they all blend into the overall story. And I have, for the most part, my free will. Not all my experiences are unpleasant. In fact, very few.
That's interesting, because we've interviewed a lot of people on the show, and some people will have really horrific experiences. Other people report having blissful experiences, like they look forward to when their alien friends come down. They're taught to fly ships. They're taught to, given tours of the ship. They meet other beings. They've been on other planets. So you sort of have a blend of both.
I do. The large majority of my experiences, if not positive, were not harmful. They were learning pieces.
Okay.
For instance, I was put into an airport, and this is the 1980s experience. And if this bores you, just tell me.
No, nothing bores. We're very interested.
No, absolutely. Yes.
So I was put in an airport, and this experience transitioned through sleep, as a lot of them do, I think, for a lot of abductees. I just suddenly found myself in an airport. So that's stage 1. That's the first sound stage, so to speak. I'm at the airport.
Wow.
It's the middle of the morning, 3 a.m. or something. I'm standing there in the dark. How unlikely is that, right? And I'm looking at planes take off. It's all highly unlikely, but I was quite lucid. And I'd have to point out that the difference between dreams and hallucinations and what folks like me go through is day and night. Things are cohesive, generally speaking, in a lot of my experiences. The desk doesn't change. If I look into the mirror, I'm the same person. Where I've had so many dreams, I look into the mirror, my mustache falls off, and then it comes back on. And I'm bald, and I'm not bald. And it's like, whoa. So
it's like, woo, Twilight Zone stuff.
Some kind of flashback.
Yeah, like a flashback or a flash forward that I don't want to know about.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm in the airport looking around. I'm all by myself. I thought I wasn't. And one of the planes taking off exploded in midair. So I'm going to say, no, this didn't physically happen, because not all abductions are physical. A lot of them are psychic. A lot of them are etheric. Easier to transport your spirit around than your body.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
And of course,
especially.
That's true. I agree
oh,
with
please,
you.
Amelia.
No, thank you. Especially when you have those drives where you're on the road for an hour and you can't figure out for the life of you how you got home. All of a sudden you're at your exit. That happens so often with so many people. I sometimes wonder about that.
Some of it's got to fall under missing time, even if the smallest percentage of it's missing time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I talked to folks that did that before. I thought I might be one of those folks. I was resisting that for 2 decades. That has nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
Me and the 1980s experiences is not them. You know,
Right.
it's prejudicial, right? And
Sounds familiar. It's okay.
Yeah.
eventually I got to the point where
It's
it was
good.
like, maybe it is me. But in the 1990s, before I was aware of any of this, really, I talked to a family that was driving somewhere near London, Ontario, Canada, and they're driving easterly, I think it was, and they don't remember anything. They wake up and they're driving westerly.
See, I've talked to people that's happened to also. They're like,
Mhm.
they'll say, well, it takes me 3 hours to get there. And we were there in under 2 hours. And I'm like, but we don't remember the drive. And I'm like, I could really handle some of that kind of travel.
So can I.
Just cut back some of that driving
My
time and
gosh.
standing.
Yeah.
You know, all
Especially on
fun
the
aside,
427. Give me that.
right? I know.
Just
Oh
saying.
gosh,
Give me
yes.
that.
I know, right?
Don Valley parking lot would be nice if we just bypass all that crap.
Oh my gosh, I know. But it is that missing time or looping,
Looping or missing,
time. And, with respect to some people being abducted when they sleep, it's also
Hi,
a curiosity. For
Justin.
me, myself personally, it's a prerequisite because I'm exhausted at the end of the day. I'm like, God, just let me fall asleep first before you put me to work again or whatever. I get really ornery about it too. It's just like, I look at the
That's why
time
I
and I'm just
don't
like,
go.
and honestly, sometimes as soon as the lights go out, I'll hear things within the room or I'll feel hands on my head or things like
Mhm.
that. And I'm just like, okay, so I just need 10 minutes. I'm sure it won't take me longer than that to just sack right out, And then I just go to sleep. I'm just heck with it. I just don't want to know the whole process all the time. But then there are times where you read about people who are having experiences in the middle of the day. I'm sitting here wide awake going, now would be a good time. But apparently not for them. So,
Well, speaking of the middle of the night, I just want to give a quick shout out. First, I want to say hi to Mama Pauline because I love and adore her. And I was blowing kisses to her earlier. I wasn't blowing kisses to you, Wes. I'm sorry. And not to anybody else, but Mama Pauline. And just in case, good evening. It's 3:36 a.m. here. Well, thank you for being with us.
Justin, you are a freaking champion.
We love
Thank you for being here for 3:30 a.m.
Yes.
your time. Thank you.
Definitely calls for a shout out. And Wes Coleman made a statement. He said, maybe if you go into the experience being fearful, perhaps that makes the experience more scary or horrific.
Heard that.
Yeah.
I love that statement. I'd like to say I don't go into the experiences anyway, any particular way, no mindset, generally speaking.
Right.
I just start somewhere.
You're just there.
I'm just there, and I fall through the rest of it. And Michelle, I wish I could sleep better than I can.
Yeah.
Leslie worked on that with me.
Oh, so is
I'm
it
an
because you
insomniac.
anticipate, do you think? Oh, insomnia, just like Amelia.
Yeah. It's sad, isn't it? It's horrible.
Apparently I shouldn't be walking and talking with the little sleep I get.
Oh.
I shouldn't be functional.
Oh.
Do you get like angry from the insomnia? Do you ever get easily?
Oh. Yes, Justin.
Yes.
One of the same.
Yeah.
It's your lucky night for waiting till 3:36 in the morning.
I do.
And Tamara has insomnia. See, I wonder if there's a link there.
So here's my understanding, with a little prerequisite, which is I was getting to the point before I saw Leslie where I couldn't, I was afraid to close my eyes many nights. I mean, afraid.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It was bad. So my ex, Elizabeth, came into the room one night when I'd just fallen asleep, but I was terrified to close my eyes and fall asleep. So she had just walked in. And I bolted upright, sitting upright in the bed, and I pointed my hand at her and I said, "Who are you?"
Ooh. Wow.
Oh, yeah. So she slowly walked over to me, and it's like, boy, you are losing it. And I was. So
Wow.
Leslie we tried to talk to these beings. One in particular saying, well, Wes is this human thing, and he does need sleep. You think you
Right.
could, give him a
Right.
break now and again and let him
Right.
rest?
Yeah. Let him fall asleep first. That's my rule.
Oh
Once he
my
was asleep,
gosh.
okay.
Sleep first. Yeah. No. Wow. That could be pretty traumatizing. I think I can only use myself as an example. It was very unnerving, and I know I've talked to other people who have felt the same. It's an intrusion, and it's your boudoir, as I call it, is your sacred space. It's where you should be able to go lay your head down at night and feel safe and not worry, because when you sleep, your subconscious opens wide open. You're vulnerable. You need to feel safe. And unfortunately, you have these guys just lurking around, just popping in, and who aren't bound by time or space. And it's an intrusion. Like it took me a while to come to terms with that, and a lot of work. Amelia and I worked on it. I've talked to other friends of mine who were involved, or abductees, contactees, experiencers, and I finally came to ease with it. And it wasn't easy, but once I did, now I just blapper it off. If I hear they're in the house sometimes during the day, and I'll just blap off like, not in the mood or whatever, or just like, okay,
You communicate. Yeah.
I do.
Your needs.
And you know what?
Mhm.
It's I feel has been a game changer, because I've just been more, I guess, of a team player. Is that maybe what the ultimate goal is? Just coming in because they want you to be involved, or, they've got little jobs for you, or whatever the case may be. So I'm wondering, it's like what Wes's comment was about, if you go in fearful, or, on edge, or just mad, because some people will go in and like scope, it's just like, we're not doing this. And they, they get ready for a fist fight, or they'll try to hurt them or lash out. I think the very first time I ever had an experience that I can recollect, I felt hands on my head. And the first thing, the only thing, as I was laying on my side ready to go to sleep, was, it says, touch me and I'll snap your neck. And that's seriously the way it was, because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know. It was a first awareness for me, and I couldn't get out of that intrusion mode. Their
Very
hands are
intrusive.
on me. You're touching me. I'm in my space where I'm supposed to feel safe. I can't see you, and this is a bother. And then hands went off, and that was it. So maybe they felt for their own safety, they wait for me to sleep.
I wonder if everyone has that ability to communicate with them to the point where they listen and back down, because I've always thought, because I've always said, no, this isn't happening to me. I'm still that way. I'm not going to say I was much like that when I was younger. I'm still that way. But I feel that it's going to happen regardless. It's best to go in calm, because you can actually, carry yourself a little bit better that way as well, and respond a lot better.
Maybe
because
it depends on which race you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
So, like, have you actually ever been aware? Are you aware of the race of individuals that visit with you or take you? Are there different races?
Good question. Good conversation about sleep. I'm sure when I was terrified to close my eyes, that didn't help things.
Right.
If I was abducted that night.
Right.
And just to comment, Amelia, on what you were saying about communicating with them, I try. I must be stubborn, because
No.
if I don't know it's working,
Right.
I don't trust that it's working. If I don't have verification that I reached them, this is my little thing.
I think you have to
I
trust your own
understand
instinct.
that.
You have to trust your own instinct.
Yes, I can
Totally believe
understand
that.
I want to back up 1 minute to the hooded beings. So we have a couple
Sure.
comments with that. One is Lisa, of course. She's going to be on coming up in April or May. I don't have my book in front of me, Lisa, so I apologize. Amelia, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. Lisa Savoy says, the hooded beings I see are reptilian. I will go with them, or they'll carry me out.
I know that's kind of creepy. Sherry says, with her experience with them.
Sherry says, I can relate to the hooded ones. Always 3 of them with one forward, no faces, all telepathic. I think that's a big commonality, is the telepathic. And Lisa gives you gives you 2 thumbs up. Wes Roberts is the author of An Experiencer's Garden. I read it. I highly recommend. It's a great book. Thank you for that.
Lovely.
Well,
and
we know
Tamara also
Justin's
said
very
it
excited
depends
about
on
it.
Yeah. Justin was very excited. Yes. And Tamara writes, I think it depends on which ones, meaning the races. But most anyone from I've known or I've spoken to has mostly been experiences with Greys. And they seem to be very similar with the Greys, the experiences.
So that's interesting that you mentioned that. The Greys, to me, if they have ever been around, it's kind of rare in my case, are helpers. That is all. Like assistants to the not doctors. I've had a couple episodes with doctors who are not doctors. So the Greys seem to be helpers, and I believe I'm involved with. They sometimes call them tall whites or Nordics.
Yes. Yes.
Commonly. And I don't know if Leslie told the story that in my first or second hypnosis session, I met who was to be with me my whole life, someone I call my twin. And she is one of those beings. And I met with her in just about the first regressed memory I ever had with Leslie. And she's been with me since then. And she keeps showing up in the most bizarre ways. My friend in Australia saw physically with her eyes, saw her. I don't see her like that. She appears in my dreams. She sneaks in as one of the characters. And she's so outstandingly different because she's 8 feet tall.
Right.
And it's like, you're not hanging with us. Like, this is not normal.
Difficult to miss her.
Right.
Yeah, the Nordics are wonderful. They're very beautiful too.
Yes.
Right.
Reptilians, I cannot say. Leslie and I have interviewed a lot of people too, and some claim flat out reptilians are the nice guys. So there's a lot of this about reptilians and insectoids and so on. There's a lot of controversy out there.
I have a different experience.
I think
I'm just gonna leave it there.
But again, I guess it's like any other race. You have your maybe your good ones, your not so good ones. You know, I mean, I know, like, in 20 years of working in my field and helping people who have, attachments, and again, attachments, depending on if you're dealing with a religious person, it would be demonic. If you're dealing with a ufologist, they might think it's a reptilian or a draconian or an archon, something like that. And they're usually pretty aggressive. We haven't encountered, and in my 20 years, I haven't encountered too many people actually who have said reptilians are wonderful. It's like, oh. So
I don't think they're in my life, so I can't really.
It's hard to say, right? Yeah, I'd love to definitely, anybody out there who's had like nice reptilian experiences, Lisa, if you're one of them, would love to talk about it.
It's or experiences with both, because you'll hear one or the other. You'll say, oh, I have great experiences, or I have really terrible, horrific experiences battling them. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. If there's both, why are you only seeing one side of the race?
Yeah.
You never hear anyone say, oh, I've had both good and bad experiences with them.
I have primarily the 2 races. One are the Nordics, I believe, and the other is they're just, I call them the brown-skinned people. I don't know what to call them. They seem to be involved in not too pleasant experiments. At least I've had one that was not too pleasant. So I've only had a handful of bad experiences, but at their hands, that was one of them.
It's funny because Joe will tell you that I know on a show that we do together called The Gray Zone Uncensored, we'll speak of different things like that. It's just a research show. And the smaller brown aliens, they're called like a cleanup crew. And they will go in, they'll do experiments, but also it's like, for example, if you have a race who may, let's say, accidentally kill someone, for example, these guys come in and gone. Like they seem to have their hands like really hands on and not in a positive way. So it's funny that you say this.
I've noticed them on a handful of occasions, either shadowing me or directly involved with me. And I don't know if the other listeners can relate to this, or probably you too, can you? There are certain times when you feel helpless.
Right. This is Wes's question, I think, and control that, Amelia.
Thank you. Do you have any control during these experiences?
Those are we read them out just because we have a lot of people listening and not watching. Yeah.
Thank you. So yes, in some of them I have. What's funny, and Leslie laughs at this too, is if I catch on to the fact that I'm involved in one of their scenarios, and I start to call BS on them. Stop. Transition time. Wake them up. That's happened a handful of times to me when I've called BS on them, and I said, "There's something wrong about this."
Right.
Like I'm at a birthday party and I'm 14 or 15 years old, and all these robotic looking children with the party dresses and all this
like
stuff.
You can't tell the difference. Right. Like,
and I have to go up. I'm required, I'm told in my mind, I have to go up and see all of them, look at all of them, kind of introduce myself to them. And at a certain point I said, I have a feeling I'm being watched. There's something behind me watching me. And it's like, boom, he's out. Pull him out of the experience.
So is that like, are they putting you in scenarios just to see how you react, or are they putting you in scenarios to test your resilience? Like, why do you think they keep putting you in these obscure different experiments?
I think I wouldn't call them voyeurs. That's such a plain term in this context, but they're interested in our emotional response. That's the best I can tell you. They're interested in our emotional response. How am I responding to what is apparently my birthday party?
Right.
How am I responding to a plane that blows up in midair?
Right.
How am I responding to being put in an apartment that's so pristine, it looks like it was just created before I walked into it?
Right.
How do I respond? How do I respond to a rotary phone?
Right.
Which has occurred in about 3 of my experiences, a rotary dial phone.
Really?
Wow. It's like they need to update their programs. Some of them are still caught in the bad 70s era.
Maybe it's a nostalgic thing.Maybe it's to bring you a sense of calm that we've been with you since this time. Like it's almost a timestamp. Yeah, to say this is when,
That could be.
That's a really good thought, because in this key experience in the 80s, it was there, and literally a little black book. Literally.
That is definitely those times. I mean, I understand that I was born in 69, so I was growing up in the 70s, and I was in the middle of Imperial and Metric, and in the middle of rotary and push button phones.
Sure.
So I had the beautiful experience. Yeah, I had the beautiful experience of both, which is why I'm so messed up in measurements, just saying, to this day.
if it has to do with consciousness, because you read so much, and there's been so many contactees, etc., who have basically stated they want to see, we're here on this alleged prison planet until we reach a certain consciousness, until we've evolved to a certain point where I guess you graduate, or you don't have to be here anymore. Or I've had other contactees say, well, they want to see and test our will and our, let's just say, I guess, our reactions to things, because if the time ever comes where people have to go off world because something's going to happen, there's so many stories out there about UFOs coming down. Preston Dennett had spoken about one where an island volcano in South America was about to blow, or Mexico, and ships came down and over 1,000 people were rescued. And this other contactee said, she goes, well, they want to make sure, like, you're not going to be volatile, get on the ship and try to kill them. Little grays are frail. And other people are like, no, they're strong. I'm just like, which freaking is it? Because
and how many of them are there?
It is. It's really hard to get an understanding of that. But the message of evolution, awakening, and consciousness seems to be a real big one.
I totally agree with that statement. That's why I think I woke up at a certain point. So the experience in the 80s didn't wake me up. although I was told later by my twin, it was kind of like a false flag, a red herring. It was just to get
Right.
my attention.
Okay.
It was pretty weird and involved to get my attention. It was 5 stages or phases long. And even my partner who was sleeping beside me felt something had been going on in the night, but
Wow.
she was shut off, or switched off. And I'm sure you've heard that term before,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So she was switched off, but interestingly enough, her hearing wasn't switched off.
It's kind of
So
like a whole Matrix thing, right? It kind of plugs in and
That's scary, though.
she was catatonic.
right.
But you can hear everything.
But she could hear. And so apparently, and I didn't get this till years later through Facebook, she's saying, "Oh yeah, the 1980s experience," and she begins to tell me something I don't remember at all, and it's
Right.
a second 1980s experience with her laying beside me that I'd not recalled, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to, even under hypnosis. So she remembers that because, again, she couldn't move, but she heard me in the other room talking to them.
It's like sleep paralysis. You're aware of everything that goes on
Yeah.
around you, but you cannot react or move. You're just still, but yet you can hear.
Do you have the urge to want to move, though? Because you can hear?
Can't force yourself to do it. It's hard, though. It's happened to me twice. I was
That's
just
scary. I have a question for you, and then I'll read
yeah.
Wes's comment, and we have a few more in the chat room. I've always wondered, and I don't know why I've never asked this question, but I feel so comfortable asking you. When you have these experiences and you feel that you're taken mentally, psychologically taken, and they create these like matrix rooms or these made up facades for you. Have you ever been taken where you've woken up and you're actually on a different planet and aware of it? Or is this always happening in a craft?
It is not always happening in a craft.
Okay.
That I will say for sure. A couple of times on a different planet, where one of them I had the rare opportunity, I was so lucid, I was able to ask them what could they do. And one of the questions I asked them, if they could bring somebody back to life.
Oh,
don't
good
ask me why I asked
question,
that.
Wes.
It's crazy
Yeah.
because this was in another world, looking at other beings who were working with holographic images as if it were something we did every day. Even the
Wow.
kids, the
Wow.
younger ones, were doing that. So some have been on those planets, some have been on this planet, some have been on some stage, and I wish I could tell you where they are. Like the apartment I went to in the 80s, is it real? Or is the whole thing a construction? And when they put my ex-wife in 5 or 6 of these experiences, none of which she has any notion of even today, but they put her in 5 or 6 of these, and Leslie and I have talked about this. Was that her?
Or was it a hologram? Like, was
Right.
it her? I mean, Michael Jackson's still doing concerts. So
was it her?
Was it her? Doesn't mean that she couldn't have been there and not had a recollection. I mean, by all means, she could have, And
I think that's it exactly. I would swear to 2 or 3 of the experiences, swear up and down that it was her and our emotional ties. And we were separated for a time during one experience, and we were bawling our eyes out, and then we were crying our eyes out at the end. It's like, that was her, I would swear it was her. And other times it just put somebody there, like the mother of 2 alien children that I was taken to see. She was just there as a figurehead. She didn't talk or walk or do anything. She just stood there. And I'm thinking she was not real.
Oh, that could be.
And these alien children, you were brought to see them. Why?
So I've been brought to see what I believe to be alien children several times. Leslie and I have talked about it. I can't swear it is so, but she would say they're hybrids from me.
That was my next question coming, but I was kind of walking on eggshells with that one.
Oh, it's okay.
What does that do to
we've
you?
Had stories like that,
emotionally?
It's confusing to me. I'm not a parent.
It's tough because they're considered to be your children. So, like, what now? Kind of.
So the prevailing theories, I think, go 2 ways. One is, if a hybrid really looks like a human, they might be here. They might put them here. If they're not quite there yet, they're not going to put them here.
Right.
So those are two sort of divisive theories. But in this case, with the mother, who is not their mother, it's two perfect little blonde kids, twins, boy and a girl. And a mother, an apparent mother. I don't believe she and I were connected, but do I know? I do not.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just scurrying around, something like normal kids, except for their eyes. You know how the eyes, it was the eyes
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Always is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the eyes.
Yes.
And I was just meant to think, the thoughts came in my mind, well, these are your kids.
Right. Yeah, with the telepathic communication, so you probably weren't wrong on that at all.
They never speak, Michelle. They never
Wow.
talk with their mouth parts or whatever you want to call them that they possess.
Right. It's
They've
always
never spoken to me. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. Wes's comment, I'll put it back up.
Thank you. Wes Coleman says it's like they're testing the empathy of the human race. Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with that on some levels. Are we that way? Do we have enough empathy? Do we have enough passion, humanity? And then I think, do I want more humanity?
See,
look at how we've done with that.
Depends what your description of humanity is, I believe. Your interpretation of it.
Yeah, and there seems to be a lot of messages out there from ET with some abductees or contactees along the lines of, you don't take care of your sick, you don't take care of your elderly, you're cruel to one another, But when you think about it, because Wayne and I have talked about this many times, is this is the type of planet where everything eats everything. It's just, if you think about it,
It's a circle.
It's a circle where people don't think that even plants and vegetables, everything are sentient. If it grows, it has life.
Oh gosh, yeah. There's
there are vegetarians seeking and vegans seeking therapy everywhere right now.
Everything eats everything in one form or another.
My.
There have been experiments done.
I agree with you.
For example, there was a high school in the United States that did this experiment in the Rotunda. They took two plants, and they were both encased in glass, two separate plants, where they could hear people. And the experiment was every day when people would walk by, they would compliment one plant and they would insult the other one. The one that was always insulted had brown leaves. The leaves were down, and the other plant was thriving and growing. They've done the same experiment with water in glasses. They put water in, and they'll, like ice even, like they'll say, oh, you're beautiful water, you're going to nourish me, you're just wonderful. And the other one, they just like talk down to it. And you could just see when they do testing, the molecular part of all of it was changed. It's all about frequency, vibration, all of that. And
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's crazy,
I'm living proof. I do not have a green thumb like my mother. I'm nothing like that. But I love basil, and I use a lot of it in my cooking, parsley, sage. So I will grow it. And people will say to me, how do you keep your basil growing through the winter? Because it's so sensitive. I go, I don't know. I sing to it, but I sing. I'm singing in the kitchen. The kitchen's my happy place. So I'm always singing. I'm always thanking it for giving me its leaves, its life, for me to flavor my food. I actually thank the basil. And what can I tell you? It grows. But yeah, and it's not for anything because I'm terrible. I don't know anything about feeding plants. I don't know, but they seem to grow, and I guess they just like my voice.
I am so on board with that. I love that. We're apartment dwellers, and we talk to our plants all the time. We have a mint year round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Year-round.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? If it likes being there, and it's important. I think it's important. Like you said, vibration is everything. If you don't want to believe that it's life, then think of it that way. It's a force. We're all vibration. We're all energy.
They've just done experiments, and they could see that trees actually communicate with one another through their roots, and they will lend water to one another. So if one tree feels dry, the other tree will push water towards it. Like it's craziness, but it's amazing.
It explains so much about forestry and wildlife, why it thrives and survives without men in it.
Right.
Why does it thrive better? That is a great explanation. Tamara's got a comment. She said, maybe you're being used to show the next alien generation how humans react to scenarios. I see a C. Sorry. Scenarios emotionally.
I think Tamara's tired.
That's okay, Tamara. That's okay. I just don't know if it's my eyes or not. So I had to check.
That's okay. Yes.
So am I allowed to back up and then speak to that?
And
you can do whatever you want. It's your show.
This is your show. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Experiments with plants. So when I was younger, I had a unique opportunity. I belonged for several years to a parapsychological research institute.
Right.
And they were connected with a major university here, and they did scientific experiments, and they measured them and looked at statistics and all that. And I was just in a huge learning curve with them, but with plants. So they hooked up a plant to an oscilloscope or some other scope, and they tried to threaten it. Now, here's the funny thing, or here's the really unique thing. When the person threatening the plant didn't mean it, the scope wouldn't change. When there was intent behind it, the scope showed changes.
See, I am completely in agreement with you. Intention is
it's
everything. I agree.
Especially
so yeah, it was fantastic. Like you go at it with a knife and I'm just pretending, or I'm going to cut you. And it'd be off the scale. It'd be like, okay. So that gave me an appreciation, early teens, teens and 20s, I should say.
Wow.
But in terms of Tamara's question, yeah, they're observing me, and I'm sure a heck of a lot of others, trying to find out how we will emotionally respond to a situation. When I was in one scenario with my ex-wife, and our faces were put in machinery. This was god awful. Our faces were put in machinery. I felt like I was suffocating, and I had to go through that on my own, and she went through it on her own. That was tearing me apart.
Wow.
And then I go to the recovery room ahead of her, and she comes in later. And by that time, I had a chance to look around the room, and it was one of maybe only a handful of chances I ever got to look in a mirror in these experiences. And I look like my captors.
Wow.
I was unfinished, is what I would say to you. I was unfinished. The construction wasn't finished, especially of my face. But when she came back in the room, it's like, damn, I said to her, I know why we're here, meaning they're observing us, and they're getting to experience our emotions, and they're gauging to see the word empathy has come up, or sympathy, or hope, or passion, or intimacy.
Yes. Yes, because I guess depending on the race, some say grays are completely emotionless to anything. I could definitely see them getting involved with that. Nordics just seem so whimsical, they just seem so full of knowledge and willing to share and love and light and that sort of thing. Amelia, did you want to get them speaking in Nordics?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Zachman says, I've had contact with the Nordic beings, which were neutral in nature, not bad nor good. It seemed like their goal was to validate my beliefs that they were real.
Okay.
Maybe you questioned it and don't remember.
Justin.
Or 4:00 in the morning, just in case. Now, I've been mistaken for a Nordic. I'm 6'3", tall, and had white hair and a beard. Now bald, but my eyes aren't blue; they're almost black. My daughter's eyes are like that. That's really cool, though. That's creepy cool.
I can comment on that when you get through your next set of comments. Please go ahead.
We'll just finish off with this one. And then you can go. We're back to the plant here.
Yep, that is also the case when the person left the room and only thought about hurting the plant. The plant would react even though the individual wasn't there physically.
Poor plant.
I can't hurt a plant. I hurt when I pick basil.
You eat salad.
I know, but it's different when someone else is doing it, right? I'm one of those. Like when I'm the one picking the leaves, I'm just like, did that hurt?
Well, that's what Justin says.
Yeah, he's a vegan. Justin is a vegan and 10 years now, and said carrots probably scream when we rip them out of the soil. We just can't hear it. I'm never going to eat carrots again now.
So we'll let you jump back to your.
It's okay. I'm loving this, and I really appreciate the feedback. and both of your sets of comments are important to me.
Okay.
No,
Excellent.
I'm
you.
in learning mode every time I get to do this.
Aren't we all?
So are we.
You're teaching us as well.
So the plant, we're both vegetarians here. So my partner Anna, when she goes to harvest the mint, I can't stand it.
Oh,
Mhm.
I won't
okay.
do it.
Are
I'm
you
not
feeling
doing
the
it, darn it.
vibration? Are you feeling it, or is
I,
it an empathy?
it's more of an empathy. I don't think I'm feeling it. I would not go
Oh,
that far, but I
okay.
just can't stand it. I said, no, you can't. You'll hurt them. You know.
I'm like that
Oh,
with my basil. I just,
And I know
yeah.
people are thinking this person is whacked.
I'm not.
no, I don't think so. I think people are getting a better understanding of that every day. I mean, if you think about technically with religion, saying grace before dinner, being
Mm-hmm.
thankful for the food, and the food in turn will nourish you and apparently is supposed to taste better just
That also
before
comes
you
from a
cook it.
time where they
Being
used to
thankful.
hunt their own.
Also,
Yeah.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
Tamara's.
Tamara says, because the trees of communication throughout a forest, I was told by an elder who worked in the forest that the forest speaks. Be careful speaking back.
Ah,
Ooh.
that's
Now I want to go
intriguing.
hiking.
We love going hiking, and we're
Yeah.
aware. We're always hoping we'll see nature spirits
Mhm.
when we're out. But because some of them are really impish, they just won't appear because we want to see them.
It's true. It's true.
The
It's a
elementals.
careful what you
Yeah.
wish
Yeah.
for thing, isn't it?
They're actually very sweet.
Some of them can be, some of them not so much.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, when I was in Scotland with the Fae, there was a place which
Ooh,
it was
that's a different-
just to make offerings to them
Oh,
because they
lovely.
could be a little bit hostile. Yeah, they look like just big round circles of rock that would just go and looks like a swirl, and you could walk through and you would just leave offerings on the different stones. And it was in the Highlands in the Isle of Skye, and then the Fairy King's Grotto was up at the top, and you see this big, it's this crazy looking thing, but it's a really big belief. Like there's so much out there that we are not aware of, but it
Mhm.
makes you wonder. I mean, you're dealing with interdimensional beings,
Mhm.
extraterrestrial beings, maybe,
Mhm. Mhm.
or interterrestrial, since there's some of them are here and they're underground, or there's so much that we don't know.
We live in a world that's largely not consciously experienced,
Mm-hmm.
unseen, I would say, unnoticed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my big deal, my job in becoming awake was to pay more attention.
Right.
And when I talk to friends or people I occasionally mentor, I'll say to them, we are bombarded with impressions and input. We just don't tune in.
Right. I
We don't
agree.
tune to those signals or those frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
or we just let it go by because we're so focused on what's manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And what is
Yeah.
not manifest is the large part of our universe.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with you. I think that we're kept so busy in life besides that we just don't stop long enough to really pay attention of our surroundings. A walk in the forest is the perfect thing because
Wonderful.
there's so much there. How aware are you of what is actually happening? You are living and walking amongst a living, breathing ecosystem
Mhm.
that can hear you and communicate with you and all of the beings that are there. Even with ET, a lot of people automatically assume they come from the stars. They
Mhm.
don't necessarily come from the stars. Some of them are in the oceans, in our
Mhm.
mountains, underground. Many of them were here long before us.
Extraterrestrial, interterrestrial are in different realms. There's
Mhm.
an author, and I can't pronounce his last name for the life of me, but he wrote a book called The Omniverse.
I know it well. I
Do you?
absolutely, I do. I think it was the same author who did the Mothman prophecies, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken,
could
or
have
he
been. I
based
don't
his work
know.
on. Yes, yeah. I've actually covered some of that stuff in the Gray Zone with Joe. Um, it is. It's definitely dimensional, interdimensional. Um, it's all levels. You can be in the same space and have all these different levels.
And we're actually
Fascinating.
we're getting all this stuff seeping in to
Yeah.
us, and we occasionally probably some of your guests have talked about downloads.
Oh yes, please. Yeah, let's do it. Let's just have some fun. Talk about the Omniverse. Talk about the downloads. I get
Well,
downloads, and people don't understand what that is.
I think a lot of people do. Do you, Amelia, as well, get downloads?
No, I have nothing to do with.
Yes, she does. She's in denial. I don't get abducted.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay,
No.
fair
I
enough.
can
The
attest
first
to
time
the
too,
fact
she's
that I have seen a Nordic and didn't know at the time what I was looking at. I thought I had to do a double take because I was in a car and I thought I was looking at some cosplay artist until I realized how tall she really was. And I'm like, no. And everybody around her is walking and no one's staring at her. I'm like, what? Oh, this is just, when you just know.
Yes.
It's almost like there's a glitch in the image and it's just like a hologram. And it happened so fast. And I didn't think about it until I started to learn more, and working with Michelle, and then through our guests and through I've been doing radio for years. So through other guests, I've learned a little bit, but honestly, at that moment, I did not know what I was looking at because it was making a left turn. It was a main street. You're catching that corner. And then I went, what the hell? Why isn't anybody staring at her? I mean, if she was walking down Queen Street, nobody would even notice her except for the fact of how tall she is. Yes.
That's it, right?
Yeah. I used to work at Queen and Bay, except for the fact of how tall she. Did you? I worked under the Sheridan Center Hotel in the concourse level.
I worked in one of the high rises as an executive assistant, one of my other lives. Yes.
Yeah, that's another life for me too. I was doing hair. That's a long time ago. But it just, her whiteness, the long flowing hair, the stance, the way she was leaning forward, how tall she was. The eyes were super large, like a Bratz doll. You know what I mean? Like it just it stayed with me. But that's the only thing that I can remember.
I'm working with a group of people. I've been working with people like this for years, and we have fun. With little psychic experiments and so forth. It's just a fun little group. But one of the things I've introduced to them is this momentary images we get, are spontaneous momentary images, flashes that do not last. I call them simply fleeting images, right? So it's my belief, and I would put this to you and to your listeners, that a fleeting image can be revisited and unpacked to take out everything that's in it. That there's more you actually experience, that there was what this figure, Amelia, did a few seconds earlier, a few seconds later, what was on its mind or her mind at the time, what its circumstances were, the vehicle, the life story. So some of this can be unpacked later if you can call to the forefront that fleeting image again and examine it and lengthen it, so to speak, and unpack it.
Yeah, I'm definitely visiting Leslie as soon as all this pandemic crap is done. She wasn't there a few minutes before that left-hand turn. That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
She wasn't, and then she was, and then that's, you're like that kind of thing, and then all those questions, like you said, it goes through your head a lot later.
I think it's probably available to you, is all I would say.
Yeah.
So one of my friends that's participating in this little experiment is keeping a journal of fleeting moments of all things, because they go so fast. Yours lasted a couple of seconds, which is lengthy, really, a few seconds, but some of them are just boop, like that.
Oh, really?
So he's keeping a journal, and he's going back looking at the journal. He says, that turned out to be true. That was true. So through examining the journal of fleeting moments, he'll just say, sister's going to call me.
I like that idea. It's almost like a dream journal.
It is.
But
it's a fleeting moment journal.
I love that idea.
And on examination, it's bearing fruit for him.
Yeah. Wow.
It's I think the more you do it, the more you can manifest also. Right? So, okay, here we have another one.
Just in case, all angels are extraterrestrial, but not all extraterrestrials are angels. I agree.
That's true. A lot of people. It's
definitely true.
Yeah, a lot of people think that the Nordics or the Palladians are angelic beings because they're just beautiful.
And they're glowing.
Right. And then you get the poor reptilians that get the bad rap because
and the
demons.
insectoids. My goodness, wow.
Insectoids.
Well,
Yes.
sadly,
yes.
they have the misfortune of the way their appearance. That's
Yeah.
why.
It's true.
That's why.
So
Yeah.
it falls under the don't judge a book by its cover sort of deal, right?
Exoskeleton or whatever it is.
Exactly. Why don't you expand a little bit more on the omniverse for those who don't understand what the term means?
So you can keep me in check on this. I don't know a lot of people that have read that book. A handful of my friends have read it. I was so fortunate it came to my attention. It could have been Leslie, actually,
Right.
but it came to my attention. So I'm thinking back to, I know it's corny, the Riddick movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
With Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel. So
Yes.
Yeah.
the Chronicles of Riddick, in the second
Yes.
movie, this conqueror race basically starts out by saying there is a verse, there is another verse. And that really stuck in my craw. There is
Okay.
another verse. There's another universe, right? But I love
Several.
verse. I just like
Yeah.
verse.
Yeah.
So there is another verse. And this character went on to talk about the other verse and what was possible in it. And that really turned my head around. I thought, okay. And then I read, oh God, I can't remember the author. We had him on our show, Leslie and I. He wrote The Multiverse.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Another author, and he died later. We didn't know. We were, my goodness, of course you wouldn't know, but we're trying to contact him for a show and he's not writing back. And it's like, okay, no, we didn't know. So that was pretty terrible. But
Yeah.
he wrote The Multiverse. I thought, okay, multiple universes. This makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm.
And
Yes.
then the omniverse is multiple universes plus the spiritual realm, is how I understand it.
Yes.
So it is mutually inclusive, all possibilities, including the spiritual realm. That means to me that alien life forms, and apparently they can do this, can walk in and out of what we call our afterlife.
It's kind of scary when you think about it in a way, because it's almost as though nothing is sacred.
No, you've got Riddick in my head because Vin Diesel, most of the films he does, he wrote.
I knew he wrote some of them. I didn't know if he wrote that one or not.
I don't know. I mean, I love Vin, but he's not the greatest actor.
Mm-hmm.
20 American science fiction film. Yeah, I have a feeling it just makes you wonder if he had anything to do with that.
Oh my gosh, him
as
and
an
Christopher
experience.
Nolan and James Cameron and John Carpenter, you
Oh,
can start to rhyme them off, right? Gene Roddenberry. So
everybody knows that Gene Roddenberry, well, anybody in the field knows that Gene Roddenberry met with the Council of Nine before he came out with Star Trek. And his mission was to make the world aware of extraterrestrial beings and other life forms and where we should be going in the future. And he died before he was supposed to meet with them again.
Gosh, Leslie talks about that a lot, the Federation.
Yes.
Yeah. David
absolutely. We talk about the Council of Nine being a lot like the Q because they're just that supreme. They're just above everything. They live in a void.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's really deep,
I'd look deeper into this David Twohy. I think I'm pronouncing.
Director, is it?
He's also he also wrote it.
Oh my gosh!
He said Riddick is written and directed by David Twohy. Okay. So you've got to wonder where he's getting that imagination from.
Where a lot of people get it from, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, like Michelle said with Gene Roddenberry, that's why now I pay more attention when people speak of films, because I wonder, all because of what Michelle has told me, because I've never watched Star Trek. I actually watched my first episode a couple weeks ago.
It was so far ahead of itself, right?
I caught it in real time when it was on, and I introduced Anna, my partner, to it. She didn't know anything about the Star Trek world.
Does she like it?
I introduced her to it 2 or 3 years ago. Oh, crazy about it.
I hate it. I hate
That's
it.
Funny.
Not the original series, though, Amelia.
No.
Crazy about the Chris Pine stuff.
Okay. No. Yeah.
Okay. The new version.
Yeah, right. Newer versions.
Yes, because he's in the new version. Well, then she likes Wonder Woman because he's the love of her life.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
I love Marvel too. I think Stan Lee was ahead of his time as well with many of the comic books he wrote. He wrote a lot of those in the 70s.
Well, just talking about superhumans.
Yes,
Stan Lee was big into superhumans.
Iron Man, yeah. Yeah,
So,
and then DC Comics as well, with Superman coming from another planet, you know.
And it touches a part of you that's got to be reality, in my opinion. It touches a part of you that's eternal.
mhm,
You know, it touches your spirit.
mhm. I
And
agree.
yeah, when Anna and I talk about this, it's like, well, we met under unusual circumstances. And I said, did we? I said, I'm sure our spirits met and then booted our butts to find a way to do it in real time.
Mhm, mhm.
And
Across
so,
oceans of time, right? As
literally
Dracula would
in that
say.
case. Hmm.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree with that too. I think some souls just stay together, like Bubbles and I.
Yes. We
We
go
know we've had it a
back.
lot. Yeah. No, but seriously, I think it's I think you're onto something with that. And I also think some of these, a lot of the films that are out there and books that are out there are from experiencers, whether they know it or not. It's their
Sure.
way of delivering the message. Some people believe they have, they are abducted or contacted much for just, if anything, solely the reason to deliver the message.
Hmm.
And they're given more information than some of us are.
I feel very strongly about that, and I'm so glad that you mentioned it. I
Yeah.
just do this to share. There's no other agenda.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
You
agree.
know, I just do it to share and to grow. And
Mm-hmm.
what my first hypnosis session, I've always been a little psychic. I found out when I was a teen that was part of what I was. But the first hypnosis session really kicked it into high gear. And
Right.
Leslie's fond of saying, well, a psychic person. I say everybody's psychic. It's latent,
Yes.
But
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
a psychic person broadcasts. They really broadcast.
It's true. It's true. And I also think with um, what you were saying about being allocated, it's just like, okay, you're going to be given this information, go out
Mm-hmm.
and do it. Some people keep it to themselves, like you say. They're afraid, they're fearful, they don't know, what they're supposed to say. Some people have been told, well, you do that and you have the military at your door, and it goes back to the Area 51 days, where
Mm-hmm.
everybody's scared, men in black showing up. Like there is genuine fear about this sort of thing. Why don't you touch again on downloads?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly are downloads, and have you experienced them, and should people be okay with it, or should they be concerned with it? What comes with that responsibility?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. I could talk about that all night. It's
Excellent.
it's so important to me. Um,
Right.
Grant Cameron, if you know Grant, he was doing White House UFO and talking about government cover-ups,
Mhm.
and he had a massive download a few years ago, which changed his trajectory. And he'll
Oh,
talk about it.
right.
He feels experiencers are here to impart very important messages, like we're frontline.
Mhm.
I'm not sure I see myself that way, but Grant does. And
Mhm.
so a download, in short, is you receive a truckload of information in a few seconds or minutes that you
Mhm.
cannot process at the time,
Right.
Or ever sometimes.
or ever, or maybe you spend your life doing it. And
Mhm.
so a download to me is a much more direct form of communication.
Mhm.
It's without bias.
Right.
It's without blockages.
Right.
It's without obstacles. It
Mhm.
is mind to mind communication.
Mhm.
We're not used to that at all. This is
No.
not how we're built, not how we're wired. And
Mhm.
so it goes into the deep subconscious until such a time as we can begin to unravel it like a ball of yarn, piece by piece, to see why it's meaningful for us.
Mhm.
And downloads also tie into sometimes the ET agenda. If they think you can't handle a thing, they might
Mhm.
put it in a download so it can slowly bubble to the surface and be processed.
Do you think maybe, Wes, it's because our physical brains just cannot take that information to process it? That there's so much information, it's just so advanced that it has to be given to you in bits and pieces?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's partly it. I'm not sure if this is relevant, but I got to throw it out there.
Of course, of course.
Last year, I took two intensive remote viewing sets of workshops. And this was enlightening to me because I'd always wanted to do it. And I wanted to know the methodology. And I wanted to know why it wasn't psychic,
Right.
because that's what I've come to rely on, my intuition or my psychic sense. So I took this, and one of the things that became clear to me is that we objectify a lot down to 2 dimensions.
We do.
For instance, a flat screen,
Right.
like we're doing right now. Is there
Right.
feeling behind that? Yes. Yes, I'm in touch with the 2 of you.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
I can feel it. I can sense it. It's exhilarating.
Right. Thank you.
Oh, it's 100%.
I have to agree. You're picking up all the energy amongst the 3 of us is really beautiful right now.
Right.
It's fantastic, this group dynamic, and maybe others are joining in. But we objectify. We write things down in 2 dimensions. We deal with 2 dimensions most of the time. Some remote viewers would argue that there are between 8 and 12 dimensions.
Yeah.
So the information you're talking about, Michelle, is beyond our capability to process until we can objectify it. It's from 8 dimensions at least to 4, which includes our time, to 2 dimensions when you sketch this stuff.
Right. Right.
And if that's how we have to get in touch with it, so be it. But it's far too complex for us at first. It comes from the causal world or the causal worlds. And it's beyond our conscious grasp at first. So the download sits in there. This happened to me a couple of years ago. I was working on some a little piece of magic, a magical ceremony I wanted to create. And it just dogged me for months on end. I just could not put the pieces together.
Right.
And I'm lying there one night in bed, and I jump out of bed. It's there. The information's coming in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did my happy dance, and I wasn't sleeping anyway, was I? So
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
So I got back out of bed over a 2-hour period about 8 times to write down 10 pages of notes that was not available to me consciously until then. That was a classic download as far as I was concerned.
Right.
I don't know if that does it justice. Downloads the idea.
I think it does, but hold
it's like when we used to be dial-up internet.
Oh my gosh, I was there.
Download, like, honestly.
That's what a download is like.
We have to do a sponsor ID.
We're here.
Yeah, right.
We're here. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano, and our amazing guest tonight is our own Canadian from Toronto, Canada, Wes Roberts. We are loving him. What a great night. We are airing live on 105.3 FM radio in New Orleans right now. So if you're in New Orleans listening to us, we're just saying, hey, we love you guys. And we are streaming on UFO Paranormal, International Public Radio, and several other pages that Joe insists on having and we can never remember. Our intro and outro is courtesy of award-winning composer, and that is his voice on there as well. The amazing Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon. You can find him on Amazon, Bandcamp, and several streaming formats. I don't think there are any platforms he's not on. As well as for social media, you can find Justin Snicker on Facebook and Instagram. He may be down as Dr. Snick. Our show from the very beginning to tonight, and we hope forevermore, the good people at Folgers Coffee, thank you so much for sponsoring us and being the reason why we can be here for you tonight. Thank you. And thank you to all of our audience who's tuned in. If you're just tuning in, give it about 25 minutes to a half hour and come back and catch it from the beginning. You don't want to miss anything. We're archived on all of our platforms. Yes, and right after the show. So you can listen to that at your convenience. If you want to watch this, then you're going to have to wait for the YouTube download. But we're up really fast on SoundCloud.
I think actually the live show just goes into automatic, so you can go in and catch it on the live stream. So yes. Yeah. So thank you, Amelia.
Oh, no problem. And if you're on YouTube right now, give us a like and subscribe. And don't forget about the membership.
That's right. So can these downloads come in form of images, or because I'll get them in words, and then sometimes I'll just get them like a vision, and I wake up and it's just like stamped in my head, and I have to go and write it all down right away. messages will come to me that way also from some of these beings.
So I'd harken back to remote viewing again because it taught me a lot. I was very grateful to be able to take these programs. They would tell you, and a lot of others would tell you, what are your modalities? What are your strongest modalities? Mine is sound. Aside from sensing, if that's a modality, my intuition, is that a modality? I've asked myself. And I think it is. But aside from that, mine is sound. I get words. I get parts of words. And then I'll get some images. The great news is you can work on your modalities that aren't in the forefront.
Yes.
And I think we should, actually. I should work more on sight. I should work more on touch. And even touch, you can break it down into 6 different things. Like, what does the wind feel like when it blows through my hair?
You know, it makes a big difference in reading. But your thing with sight is not that you don't see. This is a medium blah, 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 blurb right now. It's because you don't trust it.
That's probably it. I know a lot of people that get sight first, and then some get taste. Some get smell, and smell is the most awesome thing that you've probably talked about on your show. You know, your grandfather that used to wear a certain cologne kind of deal.
Those moments are great. Referencing the subway system in New York City is another story. Just going to say, sorry, New York. I love the city, but every corner I almost died waiting for the light to change.
Oh gosh, I haven't been on it, so I cannot say.
Justin says,
my downloads are visual and emotional. Different emotional. Wow.
And Sherry calls them,
I call it infused knowledge. Well said.
Well, the emotional part, and you might find this story a bit funny because this twin, someone I call my twin in my life, I thought, you don't understand me. You know,
like, sassing.
Sass twin. Comment too.
You're not getting me. You know, I have emotions. You know, and so Leslie and I got to a point in the sessions where we'd uncovered an awful lot, and we want to try real-time channeling. You know, contact, real-time contact. So we approached quite a few sessions that way. And one of them, once we were in touch with her, and we were in touch with her many times, and her race. In one of them, I said, "You're cold and unemotional," or something like that.
Ooh,
that was bad idea.
I would think that's so.
So she so overwhelmed me with emotion during those moments, right after I said it. I thought I was going to pass out.
Wow, really?
Yes.
So there's
I thought I was going to become unconscious. The deepest level of hypnosis is when you don't know it's being done, you know, when you're out of it. Level 6, I think it's called. I might be wrong about that. It's 5 or 6 levels deep. But she showed me. She seriously showed me. So hearkening back to something I said earlier, is like, I'm sure I'm not always aware she's around.
And
she says she's always around.
That's interesting. So you're just not aware that she's there. So again, are you looking at like a dimensional thing? Well, can they see through that? Can they, you know, it's like time slips and such. It's just weird how the whole energy of time and space actually works, considering time doesn't actually exist. It only exists because of the clock that we see on the wall. You know, it doesn't really exist.
No. Maybe we're the ones who are veiled. And they just pull back the curtain.
They have fantastic ability, some of them, to punch through several dimensions, not without an energy drain, at least in the case of my twin. But she has told me, and this comes out in both books, I think, that I'm never not there. I'm always there. And it's like, well, sit on the couch. I mean, I get like that. I get so frustrated that it's like, no, never will.
She doesn't need to sit.
No.
Well, she wants to meet me halfway, and my half apparently is not a half yet.
And how long has she been with you? Do you know? Are you aware? Or is this a past life thing? Or is this just presently?
I can't say for sure if she was in the inner life scenario, but she's been with me since I was 3 or 4 years old.
Wow. That is fascinating. Would you consider yourself, I mean, maybe you're a hybrid if she's been with you from that age?
Some people would call me something a lot different than that, and it wouldn't be pleasant. But
terrible.
That's because he gets grades at work. That's why. Nobody really knows him except for that red mark on their paper, and they're like, "What the?"
The professor is
very
in the
pleasant,
house.
amazing man.
Yeah. Right.
But the thought has crossed my mind. I wish I could say. I mean, there is this woman. I don't know if she's still alive, that wrote a book based on interviews with 6 or 8 hybrids.
Right.
Do you know that one? I wish I knew the title. Sorry.
That many?
6 or 8.
Oh my gosh! How do you know them all?
There's all kinds
She
of
presented
hybrids.
at there's an auditorium you can rent at the University of Toronto.
Yes.
And so she presented there. Leslie helped put all this together, and some others helped put it together.
Wow.
And she was talking about the hybrids, and she's seen them change before her very eyes.
Wow.
There are 6 or 8 different ones. And it's like, whoa. And so if I'm a hybrid, I just want to stay at a certain age, which isn't my current age. It's an age 20 years ago I'd like to stay at.
Sure, don't we all?
Just saying out to the universe.
We had a lot of fun in the 80s. Well, I'm wondering if all hybrids can change. I believe that when you the essence, when you sleep at night, everybody thinks you just, mind you guys, because you just don't get the chance to leave the body. You're just kind of stuck in one sort of suspended state. But technically, it's like sleeping in your car in the garage. When most people go to sleep, my hours are short, but at least they're sound when they are. But I believe we travel. I believe the essence can leave. I believe whether they're taking them or whether you're just going off to work and getting out of the car and whatever it is. I don't think that we're limited to being stuck in this body. So to see a hybrid, like when you say changing, that's fascinating to me that's a thing.
Well, it's a thing from a different lore. Yeah, well, it is. There's shape-shifting. There's lycanthropic beings.
Or giving you the illusion, or presenting to you, projecting what they want you to see, maybe.
Certainly aliens do that a lot, especially if they don't want to frighten you. And in a lot of cases, they do not want to frighten you.
Right.
I had an experience where in real life, I had pneumonia. I used to get pneumonia all the time. I do not now, but I used to get it all the time. And one of them was pretty bad. And there was a scene with a doctor. And I was in a small examination room. And he passed either his hand-like things or a machine right through my chest. And I got better.
So they healed you.
I wanted to bring that up earlier, and I thought, well, I wonder if it will come up. But I wonder if any others have talked about healing, because why would they bother?
Well, I could introduce you to, someone who basically was cured of cancer many times. This is something that they do. I mean, Dolly's not in the chat room tonight, but her people cured her gibbon.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I've heard fix my gibbon, and they did. They came and they took her little monkey and they actually made it better. Like. They definitely do that. I remember reading something back. I think it was in like the 60s or 70s, where a man encountered extraterrestrial beings in a forest, and they left behind certain things, and they knew that he would take it. And it was like this elixir of sorts. And he went on to, it cured people, and he created a pharmaceutical company just from this elixir. So they're
was that Serpent in the Rainbow? Was that from that?
I don't know if they can make a movie from it. I don't know.
Wade, somebody that could be him.
I have the information. I'm happy to dig it up.
Just curious. Just curious.
Yes. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I thought this is fascinating. So they put your scenario, and what brought it to mind was your scenario.
The scenarios.
they set him up. They put him in there, and they created this. He found them, and they specifically left this cup with this stuff in it, this elixir as they called it. And I think there was a ring, and there was just these little strange bubbles. And then they took off, and they just leave it. And I'm thinking
I'm the strange bubbles.
Yeah, strange bubbles. Yeah, you're my bubbles, not a bubble. But it's just like you're dealing with these advanced beings. I hardly think they just forgot them.
I doubt it seriously. So
Right.
they try and set it up so we'll buy it, in my opinion.
Yes.
Like, Wes, would you buy this? You're in an examination room, and the doctor's clothes don't fit right. Like the pants don't go down far enough. Come on.
That's true.
And the hands are about this far out of the thing.
So it's just kind of a bad C movie. Never mind a B movie.
Haven't been to the dry cleaners.
Right.
Can I just ask you a question? Can we just rewind just a little bit? Thank you, Wes. Yeah. The insomnia. When did it begin?
It began in adult life for sure. I'm going to say it coincides closely to my first recalled experience in the 1980s.
Oh, I got goosebumps. Because I haven't always had insomnia. I've always been able to go on minimal sleep, but now I can't even do that. And now I'm insomniac and anxious and angry. Lots of angry bubbles, but
angry bubbles.
Seriously, you can't even say bubbles in an angry voice.
No, you can't.
No, and it's just that's why I was curious to ask you is if it does coincide with anything, because insomnia comes from disturbances within us. It's either a hormone thing for some women, and then it's a deep issue, which is why Leslie needs to be visited by me. And, I need to work with her. I really do. But I was just curious. It continued from there. It just was ever present.
Oh my gosh. It just, in the 90s and 2000s, I was deeply disturbed because I'm a college person, a college prof, and I had to be in front of people a couple of times a week for a few hours. And you have to carry the class in a way. As a presenter, you both know that.
Yeah.
You carry things along, especially if the people aren't helping. So you carry the class. And so I had to perform. That's my job, is performing in a class. And I was starting to get real frustrated. And I was starting to say to a couple of friends that would listen, I don't have any choice in this. I can't say, let's have a fascinating experience tonight. Here's what I want to do. Right. I don't get to do that.
Right.
They put me in experiences, and then they observed me. And I was just pounding on the steering wheel sort of thing. And I thought, whoa, this is starting to affect my day-to-day life.
Yes.
And the insomnia was because some of the experiences, which also caused the insomnia, that vicious cycle kind of thing. So, I live with a partner that can just 1 minute after putting her head down.
Oh, doesn't it drive you insane? I mean, Anna's, I love you. I don't know you, Anna's, I love you, but I'm really jealous that you can just put your head down and go to sleep. My husband is the same way. My husband does that too. It's just close your eyes, you'll fall asleep. No, it's not gonna happen.
It goes away. I used to have terrible insomnia, and then one day it's almost like I could just sleep, but I don't sleep.
And when did that happen, Michelle? Long. Was it when you accepted that they were in your life? I'm just curious, right?
Yes.
See?
Yes.
That's what I was trying to get at. It's
for
scary.
me, though, it's also, but the sleeps aren't really long. They're always interrupted. But when I do sleep, it's very sound. Maybe it's because I put out that condition. Sleep first. Let me sleep.
I have accepted things, though. I have.
And you're still suffering from it.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm a person who's also spent his whole life involved with magic. So that's not just a fascination with me; it's a practice with me as well.
Right.
And I talk to people about, excuse me, at least 5 things that are required for a ceremony to be successful, and so on. And I must not be doing it right because I can't stop this.
Oh no, that's terrible.
No. That is just, it's so hard. You know, I wondered about that so much because it didn't start till the last couple years with me. And I just attributed it to the pandemic and my dad passing away. I just thought, you know, but I've always prided myself. I was always that person that could be out till 2:30 in the morning, get up at 5 o'clock and go to work. I was always that person. I don't know when it just went. Where I get the 4 hours sleep that's my maximum. And then once a week, I'm allowed. I feel like I've been given permission to sleep for 8 hours, but it's never, ever solid and hasn't been in a long time. But I do my best work after midnight. And I think sometimes Michelle reminded me of that yesterday with the case, but sometimes I think I'm being controlled that way, that, you know, you can't because you've got to do this, this, and this, and it's the only time to do things at night is because you're not interrupted and you're not distracted by anything, not the phone, not someone else in your household, not I've got to, you know, clean up the kitchen, or I've got to do this, or I've got to put that. That doesn't happen at night. You're relaxed, you're focused. I'm going to read Just in Case. I love that. Just in Case. Is that your real name, or are you playing on Just in Case? I need a coffee. Justin writes, maybe alien spirits cure lots of people from nasty diseases, but not all discover it, as they didn't yet know they were sick. Very interesting.
Impossible.
Yeah. Anything.
It's very, very possible. I have to go back and ask myself, why? Not why me? Why am I involved in all this? I pretty much got that at this point. But why would they bother intervening in terms of physical health? When I had pneumonia so bad, wasn't a natural outcome death. I mean,
they just weren't done with you. Maybe you needed to be in certain physical condition to do it, or maybe you're just so compliant that they're giving back.
Yeah, I'm not saying they don't have that nature. I believe they do. I believe their emotionality is far beyond what I can conceive of, and I wanted to work this in somehow tonight, but
no, do it. Just don't. You have time. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The only times I have felt like I've been home has been with them.
Really?
And that comes out in a couple of my books. And Anna, my partner, who's my publisher as well, she said, don't bold that word.
Right.
Don't bold that word in the book. I said, I want to, because it was so important to me. But there have been a handful of times that I've never felt such pure, unconditional love. Have never felt it like that.
Wow.
And so I equate that with what I call home, capital H, home.
Right.
And so I think I don't want to say grooming me, but they're saying to me, there's another way, there's another verse.
So you know what? I would completely agree with that. It's how many people go through their lives with that sense of, it's almost like a sense of loss. Like you're just in the wrong place, wrong time, or maybe you've left somebody behind. People automatically attribute that to a spiritual, maybe past life thing. But maybe it's just we're on the dang wrong dimension or planet, or, you know, we're having a human experience.
And we're sent away to do it.
Yes.
Wayne's got a great comment.
Okay,
a question, sorry. Wayne Mel's asked, do you find that after doing an interview like this, that the alien interactions increase or decrease?
To that, I would say one word which I can expand on, synchronicity.
Yes.
They increase. I'm vibrating at a different rate. I know it. I can feel it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, I am not going to hit the sack after this interview. I am not.
I'm going to work. It's not done yet.
I'm going to be up.
You and me both, Wes. You and me both. Yeah.
But they engender other experiences, and I think even talking about them. You've given me this chance to be here tonight.
Oh
my gosh, it's an honor for us.
Yes.
It's going to ensure that more of the same happens. And, you know, Leslie will say to me she wants to get me back in the chair That sounds
Well,
pretty
you're
ominous.
welcome.
You and Michelle should connect tomorrow morning around 11 and just see how each of you made it through the night. I'm
We'll
just
have red
saying.
eyes. It's like,
Oh,
I'm
yes.
just saying you should compare notes, and see if your experiences were increased for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that. Once I found out, this is part of who I am and what I do and what I'm supposed to be doing. And I get criticized by some close friends who are nervous for me. They think, do not be so wide open.
Really?
So they're fearful for you, or maybe it's really they're fearful for themselves.
I can't say I know where it comes from. That's a good point.
Right.
But they say you're too vulnerable. And it's like,
then that sounds protective.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I have to agree with that. It's like, don't just keep the gates open,
Right.
and I tend to just keep them open. It's like, I don't know how long I'm going to be around, come, let's have more.
Right. Do you feel that we're coming to a pinnacle in this time, place? We'll call it disclosure. I believe, like I said, they've been here all along. I mean, you can go back and read many ancient texts, and many of the ancient peoples had an amazing amount of accounts of dealing with people from what they call the stars, or the Hopi people will say from the earth. They revered them, they emulated them, they learned from them. And then somewhere along the line, everything changed and we were taught to fear them. Do you think we're coming back to that point where maybe we shouldn't be fearing them? We should embrace the experiences. And do you think that they're going to disclose maybe a little more fully?
I think a disclosure is underway, but it's being meted out very slowly, very paced. The Air Force footage, for instance, that became available recently. Gee, I wonder how much more of that they have. Or, from the space station. Oh, we forgot to edit that out. Yeah, right.
Sure.
I don't think they forgot to edit it out.
Right.
So I hope so. I am not living in fear.
Right.
That'd be the most important thing I could say, I think, tonight. I do not live in fear. I think that these are our brethren. These are brothers and sisters. These are family.
Yes. Yes.
Some believe these are us.
In the future, yeah.
Could be. I can't discount that. But definitely, they're not alien. What do they think when they look at us? Look at those aliens. I mean, do you think they think
humans. Here, let us fix you up a little bit. Fluff up your clothes and show you, and give you some knowledge. I don't know. I think if you can get to a point where you're comfortable with it, I think it can be a really amazing experience. I keep trying to tell Amelia that.
Ugh.
I said, let it go.
I have enough with all the dead people I see, and I don't know. I think there's a reason why I block it out. I'm not saying it does or does not happen. I just don't have a recollection of it. Pardon?
Yeah, maybe it's just not your time. I think a lot of that too, like looping your memory or taking it from you.
If I'm going to have a recollection, I believe that it'll be later and closer to maybe perhaps the end of my life here. I feel like I still have so much other work to do.
But it doesn't
and that
hinder
I
that.
may be I feel like I may be being guided by them on that now.
I think it evolves you to be accepting of it. You evolve with it. I think awakening and consciousness is really big.
Yeah, I've come a long way where I actually, I do have a strong belief in them and I don't deny it. And 10 years ago, you wouldn't have had a conversation with me about them. I wouldn't have said, no, I don't believe it. I would have just sat there and listened to you, but I never really had an opinion of it, But when you're in the paranormal, it's really hard not to be into ufology.
Pretty much. I agree with you, Amelia.
Well, that's what Michelle always says. The two cross. So
they definitely cross. In fact, they blend. And I think you have, and I hate to do corporate speak here, you have transferable skills. That's what I would say to you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's hard. It's hard because I put my heart into my thing. My most important thing for me is helping. Is using them for assistance.
Yes.
So
We need to
Service.
do our calling, but our calling can expand in time.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, we evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And as
Yes,
you
we do.
evolve, you grow.
Mm-hmm.
You're meant to try different things. You know, I unlike Amelia, like when all this started happening, now I can recall memories of when I was smaller. You know, and I thought to myself, oh, you know, I had this attachment through my, you know, my adolescence, but maybe it was an extraterrestrial communication liaison. You become, you evolve, you really think hard about what things are. And if you're not sure, go out and figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
in your case, Wes, you had Leslie and she helped you along your journey.
She did. And, you know, it's just to speak to that just for a sec, not all experiences are done through regression, as we know. So
No.
we have conscious memories. I have a lot of conscious memories. And I
Right.
think, you know, Leslie just wants to get me back in the chair to get at the other stuff.
Right. All that deep seated. Well,
Let's get that stuff.
Get the juicy stuff, darn it. Let's
Yeah.
go. Right. So you decided that you would just put this all down in a book and let other people read all about it.
I would love it if people could get through enough of their fear to tell somebody they trust the most.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a parent or a sister or a brother or a bestie.
Mm.
Just tell somebody that you trust the most, I'm having unusual experiences, because the number of people that have opened up to me when I've started to talk to them,
Right.
they'd be like, I can't tell anybody else this story.
It's so funny.
You know how that goes?
Well, they
Yes.
have trust
I don't
in
know,
you
'cause
because you've experienced it.
I blabbered off in front of like 2 million people. Just like, you know, hey, there it is. It's a thing. Embrace it
It's a
or
thing.
don't embrace it. But this is, you know, I think when you're in the public, you have an obligation to, you know, to pay it forward and you give the information. This show is about learning. It's about, we educate ourselves. Just every time somebody comes on, we learn something new. And the biggest compliment we get is that they feel like it's just like this conversation sitting at a table across from one another and just bouncing ideas around, and everybody feeds off that energy and people retain it. And I think that when you're in the public and people look to you for any type of an answer, you just put it out there. Otherwise, you know, we do it with radio, you do it on paper, you put it in a book and your radio show.
I don't want people to walk my way. I want them to walk their way.
Exactly. Exactly. But your experience and putting it out there basically gives them the strength to do that for a lot of people. Like you say, they come to you.
They do.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Otherwise, I don't think they would entrust their information to you. You know? So this is a part of the show where you promote yourself, everything you've got going on, your books, website or email, how people can contact you. You're welcome.
So the two books, one is called Intersections, A True Story of Extraterrestrial Contact. That was co-written with Leslie Mitchell Clark.
Very nice.
And that was cool. She still thinks, and I still think, it hasn't been done like that before, where she was the hypnotherapist analyzing and commenting on what I say in the book. I thought that was pretty cool.
Right.
And the other
I like that.
Yeah, I love that. She'll break out and talk about, this is what I think is going on.
Right.
And it's like, cool. Some people found it dry, and it's like, okay, that's fine.
I think it's very unusual.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And the second book, I set out to categorize. It was, and it didn't turn out that way, but you know, what were the locations? What were some of the scenarios? What were some of the beings? What were some of the things I felt?
Right.
And that's called An Experiencer's Garden.
Right.
And the last third of it's got to do with the why me question. I really dig into the why me question. Why possibly me, besides the inner life bit? Why would it have been me? So both books are available on Amazon.
Fantastic.
And I'd certainly love to think we can get books out to folks. I have some here. If anybody's interested, they can send me a personal note.
And how do they find you?
Wes at wesgroberts.com.
There we go.
And if they want a signed copy of the second book, I'd be known to do that.
There we go. Very nice. Very nice. Bonus points, always better to buy it from the author, just saying.
I think so.
Yes.
Well, I'd love that.
Yeah.
That's what I have them here for.
Yeah.
Right.
Leslie and I have something called Contact TV on YouTube.
Nice.
We're not at this in this way that the two of you are. We do shows when we line up guests. Like it just comes to us. We contact great guests, and we don't do shows regularly. But it's Contact TV on YouTube. And me, it's just wesgroberts.com. So
perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really hope we can do this again sometime. Now, are you working on another book? Because I think you kind of touched on that a little bit.
Certainly my partner wants me to do another book. And a book more about magic than the alien connection directly.
Ooh, very nice.
Nice.
We actually do touch on things like that. So
yeah.
We definitely have an open door here on the Outer Realm.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Like chaos magic or like magic?
Ooh.
Magic. Well, we know folks that do chaos magic, but not the kind I do. It's not stage magic. It's the real deal.
Right.
Nice.
I like it. I like it. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, and I will email you and let you know what tonight's listeners were.
Michelle and Amelia, thank you so much. This was
I
led myself up to this, like, I can't do it.
No, it's great. I told you it was going to be so laid back. Leslie should have told you. She probably left you hanging. She knew you were coming on.
No, it's all right. It's not about, to me, it's about one person.
Yes.
It's about you. It's about Amelia. It's about me. It's about one person listening. That's who it's about.
Exactly. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you. And I will be in touch. I'm going to email you.
Wonderful. I appreciate it.
Have a good night and be safe in that crappy weather going on tomorrow.
We're getting it.
It's freezing rain right now. So.
Yes.
Oh, anyway, on that note.
Have a good night, both of you. Thank you.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you, Wes.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, everyone, we have come to the end of another fantastic segment here on the Outer Realm. And for all of you who are active in chat, I thank you. And honestly, guys, you just make it that much more fun. So big thank you to Wes Roberts. Wow. Fantastic show. And thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring tonight's show. Big thank you to Dr. Snick, also sponsoring tonight's show with his music and his voice. Again, little reminder, head on over to UFO Paranormal Radio on YouTube. Subscribe, become a member, get all the juicy content that's coming. But don't forget about little OS on the Outer Realm on Facebook. Give us a like. Always appreciated. And if you need to contact us directly, please go to the Outer Realm contact@gmail.com. The Outer Realm contact@gmail.com. It is the only way you're going to get any kind of a response. Tune in tomorrow night as we welcome for the first time Mr. Brad Olson. Also very excited about this show. He's the author of a popular esoteric series, Modern Esoteric, Future Esoteric, and Beyond Esoteric. And holy crap, it was good. So we booked him 2 months ago. So I actually had time to dabble in this, but it's just mind blowing. You guys are really going to dig it. So until then, I thank you all and have a wonderful evening. We will see you tomorrow.